lines and stuff like that, it would only affect patches of our national grid. And so the grid does need to be reinforced and homogenized to some level. But if something is homogenized, it's easier to take it all down at once. And so the fact that we have a sort of inconsistent, disjointed grid which breaks down from state to state and then county to county and city to city means that some are going to be more or less able to withstand that, not to mention the fact, if you look at it astronomically, however this works, even if it's something artificial, it's only going to be able to hit a certain section of the Earth at a certain point in time. So it's honestly not practically as scary as you think, because if it happened, it might maybe knock out half the country, but the other half of the country would be there to help.
Yeah, but just remember this: where are they going to get replacement transformers and all that stuff to get it in? Even if you have half the country out, it's going to be, like you mentioned, it's going to be looting, it's going to be killing, it's going to be, you got what I want, and that's the scary part. And again, we're dumping money in this country in places where we could, number one, we should fix the grid system. We should be looking for more for asteroids that could hit the Earth and have the money to fund it better. There's certain things we should be putting our money at, which we seem to not to be doing.
Well, that's no surprise. I mean, politics is, well, again, it goes back to the military-industrial complex, right? And it's that idea that we're all not ever going to get along. We're not going to ever see eye to eye. So the best thing that you can do is get some reasonable level of independence for your property and your family and your loved ones, and get a gun and get some bullets and be ready to defend that if things break down and looters come in. That's just the truth. Now, so you're going to have many levels of people who say, "Oh, you're just being paranoid," and well, you're thinking pessimistically, and you're thinking of worst case scenario. I'm not saying you have to go overboard and have some kind of cultish compound, for God's sake. I'm just saying, realize you need to have a certain stockpile of food and water that you can purify, and medicine and creature comforts, and be able to defend it. And I believe if you can do that long enough, then you'll be able to make it through a particular crisis, because there are good people who will come and help you.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. Now, because we're down to the last few minutes to have you on the show, disclosure. Do you think this Area 51 thing is going to help disclosure, or do you think it could hurt it?
My feeling is, being in my position, that it is helpful, because disclosure, in my opinion, really officially started in 2017 with the ATIP release. And it has nothing to do with Luis Elizondo and people like that. It really has to do with Senator Harry Reid. And for those who are not really familiar with his level of involvement, I mean, he was the chief politician who was behind this project to look into these UFO reports, and he wrote a stunning letter. If you've never read this letter, if you go to joshura-p-warren.com and you scroll down the homepage, you'll find it says something like PDF of Senator Harry Reid's letter, where he was the Senate Majority Leader at the time, and he was talking to the Department of the Secretary of Defense and laying out there very clearly about all of these exotic technologies that were being back engineered. And he was basically saying, we discovered these things, they didn't come from us, and we don't want our adversaries to get them, so where did they come from? And then he talks about the implications they have for weaponry and telecommunications, and everything, transportation, everything you can imagine. I laid all this out, in the new book, Area 51, Warning, Keep Out. Well, here's what people may not realize. That letter, which at the time was a classified letter, was released earlier this year. And it was released with the assistance of George Knapp here in Las Vegas. And you must consider that Senator Harry Reid was the Senate Majority Leader from Nevada. And the number one subcontract that went to people who were doing independent private research on all of this exotic technology were under the guise of Bigelow Aerospace. And Robert Bigelow has gone right on 60 Minutes and said, yep, the aliens are here, they're right under our noses. And Bigelow Aerospace is headquartered here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the facilities they say are being used for all this are facilities that are modified buildings around Las Vegas, Nevada. And George Knapp is the guy who gets to release this stuff or quote-unquote leak this stuff, and he's the big investigative reporter in Las Vegas, Nevada. And this is the state that is owned more than any other state by the U.S. government. The government owns 86% of this state. So that is when disclosure began, with Harry Reid's letter coming out and saying, look, if you're smart enough, all you have to do is go read this letter, and it's out there. So what's happening with this Area 51 event, I believe, is good, because smart people who realize that disclosure has already begun, they realize it's happening here in Nevada. It gives them the ability to, get the conversation going, to legitimize it, but at the same time, yeah, you're going to have yahoos out there who just say, let's go see them aliens, and I think we all sort of understand the difference between what's really happening and people who just want to go and light up a bonfire and have some beer and have a good time in the desert.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, everything you say really makes a lot of sense. I think the Area 51 thing is a great thing, but I'm confused. Like CNN, CBS, NBC, ABC says it's been canceled, but then I read other things. No, it's still going on. What do you know about it?
Well, it never really was a thing to begin with, and so my understanding is, there was this festival. There's a documentary about it on Netflix that was planned years ago in the Caribbean called the Fire Festival. I believe it was FYRE, or maybe it was Fry, something like that. And it was very poorly planned, but was highly promoted. And all these people bought big, expensive tickets, and they flew down to the Caribbean. And there was such horrible planning there that everybody had a miserable and even life-threatening experience. And the guys who put that together went to prison afterward. And so that is the Caribbean. Now, when I was living in Puerto Rico, I was on an island surrounded by water. Now, here in Las Vegas, I'm on an island surrounded by desert and sand.
Oh, yeah.
But either way, it's an island. And frankly, you're probably going to have better odds of surviving in the Caribbean if something goes wrong than you are out here in this desert. I mean, if something goes wrong around here, forget your bug-out pack. If you go walking off into those mountains in the desert, you're probably going to die very quickly. And so this is, to me, a situation where nobody even really thought this through to begin with. It was sort of like, okay, there's some publicity to do something. Let's jump in here and capitalize on it. And then they started to realize the reality of what was being said. I doubt that the man who put this Facebook post up, as he says a joke, ever even had been to the area around Area 51. So basically, I think that there are still people who are going to go out there. They're going to make their own fun, but there's not going to be any type of a big centralized event there. And I also believe very much, Gary, that there has been an endeavor to tell the media to stop talking about this, because talking about it potentially encourages it. And they make a good case by saying, look, this could be a humanitarian disaster, and that's true, and that's why there is a base there, because it's such a harsh environment. So nothing huge is going to happen. I think maybe 300 or so people will show up. That's my guess. But I don't think it's going to get a lot of coverage, and I think this will just sort of fizzle out, and the guys who are in charge of PR at Area 51 are going to get a nice pat on the back and say, job well done.
Oh, yeah. Make sure if you do, one of the people are going to go up to the Area 51, please bring a lot of water. Like I was saying before you came on the air, every summer for many years, I'd go up when Art was in our country and not in the Philippines. I'd come up and see him. I'd ride, like in May, late May, early, late May. I would go from the Seattle-Tacoma area on my motorcycle, Harley, and then, hit Reno and then go to Las Vegas. And on the way to Las Vegas, I go to Pahrump and see my friend. I tell you, one time I didn't have enough water, and I almost killed myself. I started hallucinating riding that motorcycle. I started seeing rattlesnakes going across the road. And there's a lot of places you get out there, and a lot of businesses are not there anymore. So you might go well over 100 miles before you can get gas or get water. And in my case, I from the year before, I remember there was like a strip town, which was not there when I went this last time. They were all out of business, and I couldn't get water. And I thank God a trucker stopped by, and he gave me a soda because he didn't have water. I tell you, if I needed to get help or anything like that, a lot of the truckers just drive by. They don't stop. I could have died there with my two sons. I mean, it was that bad with heat stroke.
Well, when it comes to that extraterrestrial highway that goes by Rachel, I mean, basically there's only one way in and one way out from, one way from the south and one way from the north. And if a lot of people show up and there's a traffic jam, or if government officials decide to put up a roadblock, or there's a car accident, I mean, there could be a million things that happen. You could be sitting there, stuck there in that blazing sun for hours and hours until possibly you run out of gas or water or food. So, yeah, I mean, these are things that people need to understand before they go tearing off into the desert thinking they're going to go there and have a Disneyland experience.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Joshua, before I let you go, again, you want to go ahead and plug your podcast?
Well, yeah, thank you for saying that. My podcast is called Joshura P. Warren Daily, and it's always short. I mean, sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's an hour, but it's short, it's free, it's independent, it's uncensored, it's commercial-free, and what I do is just tell you what I'm up to. And I can do it anytime I want, as many times as I want per day. So, for example, as we get close to next weekend, people who are going to this event, as soon as they get a signal, they're going to be contacting me and telling me what's happening, and I'll jump on and give you a 5-minute update. So I don't think you're going to get that anywhere else. And if you want to listen to it, just go to joshurapwarren.com. And you'll find the link there to Joshura P. Warren Daily. And also, I implore everybody to do two more things. One, go to the Curiosity Shop, look at the cool stuff there, scroll down and see that 1-minute video of what I call the Vegas Tic Tac UFO. And also, of course, as I'm sure Tim is about to tell you, when you come back from this break, if you really want to know what is happening at Area 51, the best minds have been gathered together to give you the most insight in this new book called Area 51 Warning, Keep Out, and it's available for cheap on Amazon. And you know what? I'm not even making any money off of this. I'm just telling you this because this is the resource that is going to give you the closest thing to truth that has ever been produced.
Oh, wow. Hey, Joshua, I want to thank you for coming on Night Dreams Talk Radio. I really enjoyed having you on as a guest.
Well, I enjoyed our conversation. Thank you, Gary. And, hey, let's see what happens next weekend, right?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be interesting. Okay, my friend. Well, you have a great weekend.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye now.
Okay, bye. Joshura P. Warren. Okay, I really like what he had to say. Well, Timothy will be